Greetings, my friends, and welcome to the day of the new moon. My name is Carrie Konyha, and I'm coming to you from Sedona, Arizona, where I live and work as a professional psychic reader, shamanic energy healing practitioner. I love working with astrology to support our journeys in spiritual awakening, healing, and empowerment. So I'm coming on today to share some insights with all of you as to how we can work with the energy showing up around this new moon to support our journeys. I'm going to start by talking about some big picture themes. Then we're going to get into some specifics. I am going to pull the astrology chart for the new moon up for those of you who like to see the chart. And then later on in this episode, I'm also going to be sharing insights, messages, guidance for each individual sign. I am going to chapter out this video for those of you who like to skip ahead. I recommend watching the rising sign, your sun sign, and your moon sign to get the most well-rounded idea as to how you can work with these energies. So this new moon is happening in the sign of Gemini. And as with each new moon, the sun and the moon are aligned in a conjunction. And this is always the best time each month, each lunar cycle to set new intentions for yourself. And essentially what we're doing is we're planting the seeds for an evolution of expression or manifestation that actually will blossom, grow, develop, and fully manifest 6 months later when we have the full moon in the same sign. Gemini themes, Mercury themes are really highlighted around this new moon because we've got both luminaries, the sun and the moon, and let's see, 1, 2, 3 different planets in the sign of Gemini. We are in Gemini season, of course, and when the sun is in Gemini, it inspires all of us to be more social, more interactive. We want to get out and interact with people. We want to share ideas. We want to be playful. We want to entertain our curiosities. That includes curiosities in anything having to do with learning, studying, again, sharing ideas around topics of interest. And with this new moon, we have a special energy coming in with Venus. Venus is in Gemini and it is exactly conjunct the sun. And that conjunction is called a Cazimi, which means in the heart of. So Venus is in the heart of the sun and it's being infused and renewed and revitalized with the energy of the sun as it crosses over the pathway of the sun. Venus has a larger cycle that is an 8-year cycle. This Cazimi, this conjunction with Venus that is happening right now in the sign of Gemini marks the beginning of the halfway point of the current cycle of Venus that we are in right now that started back in June of 2020, June 3rd of 2020. And this cycle continues through June 1st of 2028. So this is not only marking the halfway point, but as Venus goes through this 8-year cycle, it has phases where it shows up in our sky as the morning star that rises with the sun, or actually before the sun. And then it has a phase where it shows up in our sky as an evening star. So this conjunction that we're in right now marks the turning point of that, which is pretty significant. And so with this comes a shift of energy. When Venus shows up in the sky as the morning star, it is more associated with forming new connections, new relationships, and expressing and creating beauty in our physical world of form. When it shows up as the evening star, it's more about qualities of self-love and being open to receive greater love or experience greater love and removing blocks to love. So that is a collective theme that we're all experiencing right now. And so this new moon, because Mercury is in its home designation with the new moon, because Mercury is in Gemini right now, which is the ruler of Gemini. Mercury in Gemini can strongly support clarity of mind. Venus supports clarity of heart. Venus is all about love, inner harmony, beauty, peace. So we have a blending of Venus themes with Gemini Mercury themes showing up around this new moon. So this is offering us clarity of heart, mind, and soul. So this is, I would say, probably the most significant energy that we can embody in support of our growth processes, wherever you are at personally in your journey right now with this new moon. But I'm also calling this new moon the shiny, happy people moon, because we are in Gemini season, and it is this time of year where we want to get out and about and be in our joy self and share that exuberant energy with others. A lot of us have had a lot of challenging times that are connected to really deep shadow work healing. And this new moon gives us a break from that, a refreshing kind of breath of fresh air type of energy that we're shifting into now. And because of this shift with the cycle of Venus that's connected with this energy, this is just the beginning of that. And we can expect this energy to be unfolding for the next many months. This energy is activating now, but also bringing us into like a longer term cycle of heart renewal. This is a time where we can have deeper heart healing because of this alignment that's all happening in Gemini with this new moon. It's deeper heart healing. It's removing blocks to experiencing love, removing blocks to self-love, and again, opening to allowing ourselves to receive and experience greater love, greater self-love, love that we share with others. I love working with the indigenous wisdom teachings connected to each new moon cycle. And so before I pull the chart up, I just want to share some information about that for those of us who like to follow that. So I often work with this book called The 13 Original Clan Mothers by Jamie Sams as a reference to how to work with the new moon cycles, especially in regard to sacred feminine wisdom teachings. And this new moon is connected to speaking the truth, which is very appropriate considering that the new moon is in Gemini. So I just want to read a few little things that I have highlighted in this book to give you some ideas as to how to work with different mindfulness practices while we were in this particular lunation. So this new moon teaches us how to speak from our hearts, always saying what we mean in truthful, clear, concise manners. This new moon is the teacher of truth and the pathfinder who shows us the faith we need to find our way through illusionary forests of our own confusions. This new moon teaches us how to speak from our personal truths and our sacred points of view. So this reminds me of one of the 4 agreements from Don Miguel Ruiz's work in his book, The 4 Agreements. And that agreement is being impeccable with your word. Being impeccable with your word doesn't mean that we're trying to somehow live up to some ideal notion of perfect language or perfect speaking. It just means that we're doing our best to say what we mean and mean what we say. So, for instance, we're not going to say no when we mean yes or yes when we mean no. This is a really good lunation, the new moon cycle here in June, to practice speaking our truth, being impeccable with our word. And I like to remind people when I'm working with clients one-on-one that being impeccable with our word and speaking our truth starts with ourselves. It starts with telling ourselves the truth, listening to our inner truth, the truth of our deep inner knowing, how we really feel, what we really need, what we really prefer, what our true ambitions, goals, and dreams are, so that we can be the one to begin the process of saying yes to those things for ourselves and leading ourselves forward in those directions. If we are not being honest with ourselves about what our own truth is and what we really need, what we really prefer, what we deeply desire, what our true passions and enthusiasms are, we can't expect other people to know those things or understand those things. We are responsible ultimately for guiding ourselves in our own lives. And that's very much rooted in speaking the truth to yourself. And of course, speaking the truth in life throughout your daily encounters is always going to be you doing what you can do to assure that you're guiding yourself forward in alignment with your inner truth by vocalizing and speaking your truth. Now, another cool thing that I really love about the Venus themes that are coming in with this new moon in Gemini season is Venus is a lot about creative expression. And so in Gemini, that has to do with creative communication. So that can be anything having to do with music, journaling, poetry, acting, play acting, even movement and dance, anything that is a creative form of communication or self-expression is very much connected to this energy showing up around this new moon. This is a really positive time to allow yourself to explore and be playfully creative along those lines. Creative expression is very much connected to shamanic modalities of healing. Let me go ahead and pull up the chart and share with you I'll point out some things that I'm talking about here, and then we are going to do the all signs. So let me go ahead and just pull this chart up here, sharing my screen. All right, here we go. Let me make this a little bit bigger here. Hold on one second. All right. So we can see that everything is clustered. All the planets are clustered on really one entire half of the chart. Now, I have this chart set to Aries rising just for simplicity purposes, but literally everything is on one half of the chart. And that brings us a condensed focus. Starting up on the upper left we have Pluto in Aquarius, we have Neptune and Saturn in Pisces, we have the north node of the moon, Chiron and Mars in Aries, we have Uranus and Taurus, and then down here in Gemini, where there's the most activity, we have Jupiter and Mercury in a conjunction. We have the sun, the moon, and Venus in a conjunction. Now, this conjunction with Venus and the sun was exact on the 4th, but we're still very much in that energy right now. And it's going to be several more days while we are still in the energy of that conjunction. One thing I want to mention about Mercury, the Mercury themes connected to this new moon are going to be really strong because Mercury is in Gemini and all of this stuff is happening in Gemini. The thing that I want to point out is how we might be feeling this physically speaking. For example, I'm noticing today that internally my entire nervous system feels a little more active than usual. I feel internally, not what I would call jittery, but excitable in my nervous system. And the nervous system is connected to Gemini in medical astrology. It's also connected to the lungs, the respiratory system, breathing, the throat, the vocal cords, things having to do with expression and communication, and also the arms. So these are physical areas where we might be having more sensitivity or more awareness of in our bodies. I also noticed last night, as we're coming into the new moon, my sleep was a little bit restless. I tossed and turned a lot. And, I'm attributing that to the Gemini energy being infused into this new moon. And I'm sharing this because one way that we can learn astrology is experientially by knowing what's going on with the planets and noticing how we feel that energy literally in our bodies and how we see it showing up in our lives. Ultimately, with all of this positive energy that we have going on in Gemini, with Jupiter here, Jupiter is bringing some positivity with its conjunction with Mercury. This is us being excited about wanting to share ideas. It's us being inspired to grow through communicating and interacting with other people, learning from other people's points of view, as said in the 13 original clan mothers, speaking our truth of our hearts from our sacred point of view is different than speaking from our ego mind, right? Which would be sort of like the less conscious aspect of this energy. And then with Venus in the mix, again, it's fusing mind, heart, and soul. The Jupiter energy really is infusing everything with a positive light. And this is a time where we can all collectively experience a feeling of like a breath of fresh air, heart, mind, and soul. Now, of course, as usual, the best thing to do is to pull up your own chart and look to see where the Gemini house is in your chart. And that's going to give you some idea as to what area of your life is being activated or inspired by this new moon, which we're going to talk about when I do the all signs here. But let's take a look at the big picture here. Let me scroll down and I'm just going to show you here. We can see that we have mostly air. All of this is in air signs. Pluto, the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter, all in air signs. Air signs does relate to the heart chakra. The element of air, I should say, relates to the heart chakra. And so embodying our heart truth, doing meditations when where we're accessing the consciousness of our heart. The heart is where we access the consciousness of our soul and our deep inner knowing. So the emphasis on heart truth is depicted also in the fact that we have predominantly air element showing up right now. And then with the modes, the modalities, we have mostly mutable. We can see all of this here is all happening in the mutable signs. The mutable signs are the signs that happen at the end of each season. And so the gift that they bring is supporting us in being able to flex and flow. This is not a time of being rigid or stubborn or black and white in our thinking or anything like that. It behooves us all to flow with the energy that is present and be willing to flex and flow with whatever might come in the way of unexpected changes, which is still going on, as we have this Uranus energy happening in Taurus, still coming out of that conjunction with Jupiter. Uranus is all about unexpected developments, unexpected change, but it gives us a shakeup in ways that are needed. And when we look, I want to talk about the aspects here. We can see many of these things ultimately are pointing to Pluto still. This was going on when I did the last lunar video a few weeks ago here. But we have mostly supportive, positive aspects. For example, Pluto is retrograde in Aquarius, getting ready to go back into Capricorn. So there's going to be some themes being revisited later on in the next many months here. But with the sextile aspect to Uranus, and we have a sextile aspect from Pluto to the moon and Mercury. I'm going to go all the way up here, but you guys get the point. This is all supportive energy that is working harmoniously together. So what is Pluto? Pluto is alchemizing energy. Pluto is evolutionary energy. It's transformation energy. And with these positive aspects that we have going on with Uranus can help us in shaking free, being liberated from anything that's no longer serving us in the direction that we want to go, while Jupiter and the conjunction with Mercury, making this trine aspect to Pluto, probably supports us in feeling more clear on what our inner truth is and more empowered to speak our truth. And it's also about utilizing the power of our voice or the power of our communication, because that can include written or other forms of communication to support our own growth in life, which is indicated by Jupiter here. I already talked about the things happening with Venus, the sun, the moon, but you can see that depicted here. Now we have Neptune making a sextile aspect to Jupiter. Neptune in Pisces is very creative energy. It's also energy that supports us in delving or diving in or connecting more deeply to the realm of spirit, the great mystery, the unseen realms of life. And so this is a really good energy for, it can be meditation, it can be creative interests, endeavors that help you to feel connected with yourself, right? Any type of creative expression oftentimes is utilized by the person who's being creative as a method for connecting with their deep, authentic self, connecting with being in the flow in the here and now, and feeling ultimately more connected with spirit. So that energy is further supporting that. And then we have Saturn in Pisces still, of course, that's making a sextile aspect also to Jupiter, and then making a square aspect to the conjunction happening with the sun, moon, and Venus. So I want to talk about that. As a person who practices evolutionary astrology that is looked at through the lens of supporting our soul growth, our personal development, our soul evolution, I interpret Saturn in Pisces as being a dedication to whatever our sense of soul growth is, because Pisces is very connected to the spiritual realm of our life and our unconscious self. So this is a time, especially with Venus passing through the sun, where we can have new illuminations, new conscious awareness around what our deep soul urgings are. And then Saturn gives us a dedication towards those things. In fact, with the square, if we look at a square as a checkpoint where we have to check in with ourselves and find a way to work with the energies, this is saying, you know, with the conjunction with the sun, the moon, and Venus with this new moon, it's checking in with yourself and making sure that what you're choosing feels aligned with your inner sense of integrity on that deep soul level and that inner sense of soul calling. And then we can also see that there's a square between Mars and Pluto. Mars is in Aries, relatively conjunct Chiron. We talked about this in the last lunar episode that I did with the previous full moon. This is really giving us a drive to step into our healed nature. This is a theme that's been going on for a while now. And then the square here gives us to Pluto even further opportunity for more clarity around what we're transforming, what we're alchemizing, how we're stepping into our evolution. And with all of the things happening with the new moon and Venus, it feels to me more like we're all collectively having an opportunity to really drop into integrating healing work that we've already done, stepping into our healed self by really just embodying that clarity of heart, mind, and soul, embodying it, integrating it through bringing it out into life. And as we're interacting with people socially, recreationally, as Gemini compels us to, it gives us an opportunity to discover who we are now as healed, as our healed selves. You know how it is when sometimes if you're talking out an issue that you have with a friend, just talking about it helps you to have your own awarenesses about the situation and almost resolve your own uncertainty. The same thing happens in this case. What I'm talking about is coming out, engaging with people, interacting, socializing, just being who you are gives you an opportunity to reflect and become more aware of who you are now as your healed self, simply because you're allowing yourself to be who you are now out and about amongst people. When we isolate too much, we don't get the reflection and the dynamic interaction that we sometimes need for integration of these types of matters that we're talking about. So the energy overall feels really good. I would love for you guys to share in the comments below how you're experiencing this. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the screen here and come back to you full screen. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the all signs here. And as I mentioned earlier, I am going to chapter this out so you can skip around to watching the information for your rising sign, which is going to be most accurate as to how this is impacting you right now. You can look at your moon sign for things that are going on more internally with you, and your sun sign for things that are connected to your manifestation goals, things having to do with your, I can say, long-term goals, how you're interacting with life, even career goals. Okay, so I'm actually going to work with my traditional Rider-Waite deck today. This is the Universal Rider-Waite. And while I'm thinking about it here, I want to give you all the heads up that I am offering the Art of Reading Tarot course, my Art of Reading Tarot course, this fall. If you want to sign up and be on the waiting list for getting information about my Art of Reading Tarot course starting this fall, then I recommend that you stop by my website, sign up for my free email update newsletter so that you will be informed as to when that course is available. Also, I will be having a live group weekend retreat at my healing center, which is called Soul Star Healing Arts here in Sedona. And the theme is shamanic healing and empowerment. I'm going to have that information up on my website within the next week or two. So I'm just giving you all here on my channel an early heads up. And so also, if you would like information on that, visit my website, sign up for my email news and updates if you're not already on that list so that you will be the first to know. I do like to offer discounts to people who are on my email list. So take a moment to sign up for that if you would love. Okay, we're going to be starting with Aries. So again, and I'm not going to say this for every single sign, but when I'm going through the zodiac, in my awareness, I'm referring to your rising sign first and foremost. So this is if you're Aries rising. So of course, if you are Aries rising, right now you have the North Node, Chiron, and Mars in your house of self. And so you should be feeling, because this has been going on for a while now, you should be feeling, I would say over the course of the next month or the previous month, that you have made some headway in your healing and you're on a path of getting back to yourself after however it's shown up in your life that you have had a need for healing old wounds or deeper wounds that are coming up. So for Aries rising, all of this stuff happening in Gemini, the new moon energy, the sun, Venus, Jupiter, Mercury, is all happening in your third house of communication. It rules all forms of communication, sharing ideas, all the things that I mentioned before, even with the Venus themes, since Venus is in that house now, creative expression. It also is connected to siblings. This could be a time where you are having closer interactions with siblings, or even people who are like siblings to you, chosen sisters and brothers. So let's see what wants to come up in the cards for you for an extra little message. So if you're Aries rising, on a practical level, if you have projects, creative projects that you want to do that have anything to do with any form of communication, this new moon is a really good time to plant those seeds, to get that project started. And again, whatever you're starting now is going to be gestating, blooming, growing, developing, fully manifesting 6 months from now. This is the card that came up for you. It's the Sun. The Sun card, for one, on the esoteric level, look at the orange banner. What's orange? Second chakra, creativity. The sun, illumination, life force, vitality. Literally, the third house for you, Aries rising, is being infused with the light of the sun right now because the sun is in that sector of your chart right now. Infusing that Venus energy. The sun card is empowerment, liberation, freedom, travel, rebirth, renewal. So that's the energy that's showing up for you. How are you feeling guided, Aries rising people? How are you feeling guided to utilize this energy? Always feel free to share in the comments below. So let's go ahead and move forward into Taurus. So if you're Taurus rising, then this is all happening in your second house of what you're core values are, what you possess. It's the house of sensual pleasures, especially with Venus being in the second house, which is connected to its natural ruler of Taurus. Sensual pleasures. Also, for you, Taurus rising people, this is a good opportunity for you to give a boost to your financial growth goals on the, more everyday worldly levels. And the card that's coming up for you is the Eight of Wands. This is the energy of new momentum. This is forward movement. It's creative ambitiousness. It's full steam ahead, all green lights. So for you, Taurus rising happening in your second house, again, green light, forward movement, new momentum, with all things having to do with enjoying sensual pleasures, what you deeply value, your possessions, and how you make money, but I'm going to say what your financial growth goals are, because this is the time where you can make positive strides in that manifestation process. And then coming into Gemini, if you are Gemini rising, then this, of course, is happening in your first house of self. The first house is your sense of identity. And the card that's coming up for you, interesting, is the Devil card. And it's interesting because we have two figures here, right? So this, I would say, is you having the potential to be liberated from anything that has felt like any type of limitation, constriction, anything that you've been doing out of a sense of trying to appease the expectation of other people, obligatory energy that other people might be placing upon you, being liberated from those things. It also can be a message about not getting caught in cycles of overindulgence, because this card sometimes can have to do with addictive traits. So liberating yourself from those things. Cancer rising, then this is all the Gemini stuff that we've talked about is in your 12th house. The 12th house represents the deep unconscious self, but it's also connected to our creativity, our connection with spirit, our intuition, things having to do with institutions, which in evolutionary astrology and Vedic astrology includes spiritual retreats. Let's see what's to come up for you here. The Two of Wands showing up reversed. This is the energy of stepping back and reassessing your direction. So that's a pretty straightforward message. But when I'm looking at it here, in this corner, we have an equal armed cross that is made with white lilies and red roses. The red roses represent your manifestation desires, and the white lilies represent your spiritual aims and ambitions. And so it's a blending or a harmonization of both. It's like allowing what you create or intend to create in the physical manifested world of form be inspired by your deep sense of inner soul fulfillment, rather than superficial or egoic centered reasons. So there's a revisiting, a rethinking, a stepping back, and reassessing your path forward. Okay, so we're coming into Leo now. Leo rising, then the new moon and all the things are showing up in your 11th house. The 11th house is humanitarianism. It's about the collective. It's about innovation, outside of the box awarenesses, ideas, solutions. So let's see what's coming up for you, Leo. The Ace of Wands. We have a lot of wands coming up. Aces in the tarot always bring an activation of energy that is associated with the suit. And the Ace of Wands is a lot about creative inspiration, especially things that are aligned with your deep sense of what brings meaning and purpose to you. In the 11th house, it could be collaborating with your sense of soul tribe community in ways that serve a greater good somehow. Whatever creative ambitiousness that you've got going on along those lines, especially with Leo, because Leo likes to be engaging with life and out and about and typically very social anyway. So how is this showing up for you? If you're a Leo rising, let me know in the comments. How is this showing up for you? Again, a really good way to learn astrology is pondering. How do I notice that this is showing up for me? Okay. And next we're coming into Virgo. So for Virgo rising people, this new moon is showing up in your 10th house. And again, not only the new moon, but the whole Venus Cazimi thing that I talked about earlier. This is all 10th house themes for you, Virgo, which is your long-term goals, your career goals, your place in your community, in society. And the Hierophant is coming up reversed. When the Hierophant energy in and of itself is associated with higher learning, life philosophies, esoteric studies. It's about being your own guru. When it comes up reversed, this is a message about you really embracing your own unique path rather than following the herd, which is more like the right side up position. So you are being guided in the realm of your long-term goals, your long-term vision, career goals, your place within your community, society, how you interact, your own uniqueness and individuality, embodying that, and let that be what is inspiring you in these areas of themes in your life right now. Libra rising, then this is coming up in your 9th house, and you have the Knight of Cups coming up reversed. When I'm seeing this, my instant thing is self-love, especially for the Libra people. Libra is all about love, harmony, balance, beauty. It's ruled by Venus. And so this Venus star point that we're in right now is going to have a special inspiring influence on you in the realm of creative expression, because that's a part of Libra energy. Libra energy also is intelligent energy. And so creative projects that require use of intelligence, again, which could be in the realm of communication. Okay, so these are like, I'm giving you all like the parameters of themes that are connected to the cards as they are falling in the houses that the new moon and that whole stellium of planets is happening in Gemini. But I love to hear from you how it's showing up for you. Is it self-love, Libra people? that you're embracing now? Is it you coming out of your shell and being ready to love again? It feels like that is an aspect of things as well. Okay, Scorpio. This is coming up in your 8th house of evolution, transformation, alchemizing, and you have the 7 of Wands. The 7 of Wands, first let me say esoterically about the number 7. In numerology, 7 is the number that relates to occult energies, anything magical, mystical, occult, esoteric. In the tarot, it represents self-chosen change. It's not change that is happening outside of you that you're not in control of, like what would happen with Uranus. It's from within you, a change that you choose. And if there's several 7s that show up in a tarot reading, then it can mean changes in several areas of your life. But this is asking you to have clarity with this new moon, bringing clarity of heart, mind, and soul, clarity around how you're applying your energies and why you're applying your energies. You can look at the card and see that this is a person that's sort of defending their position. Okay, this is, I'm king of the mountain and I'm defending that position. But the change thing is pondering. Am I really truly deeply invested in what I'm defending? Or am I just being in this point of view or position out of habit of already been doing it in a long-standing way? So it feels to me psychically, it's you being aware of the why. Why am I defending a particular stance in my life, a particular point of view, a particular value? Are the values that I'm defending really my values, my true values? Or is it indoctrinated programming? So this can be like a little bit of a wake-up call in your consciousness. Let me know how it's showing up for you, if you care to share. Okay, Sag is next. Sagittarius, showing up in your 7th house of relationship and your relationship intention. Ooh, 2 of Cups. The 2 of Cups is the energy of sharing. It speaks of harmonious energetic connections. This can speak of a new relationship developing. It's 7th house, so it would be long-term relationship. Doesn't necessarily mean it's romantic relationship, though. It can be long-term friendship that's starting, long-term client, long-term business partnership. But it's the key in the 7th house is long-term relationship. And in shamanic astrology, this can represent your relationship intention. Intention for there to be good, harmonious way in your relationships. This can be a time of healing within existing long-term relationships as well. And of course, there's always the component of our own inner sacred marriage, our own inner masculine, feminine, and having deep healing around that. So that's pretty cool, pretty intense. I love it. Okay, Capricorn. For Capricorn rising people, then this Gemini stellium, including the new moon, is happening in your 6th house of your sacred work, how you are of service, your health routines, your work routines. And you have the 6 of Wands. There's a lot of Wands coming up today. Wands is fire energy. It's our passions, it's creativity, it's meaning and purpose. So it feels like there's a prevalent theme showing up collectively with that. When the Six of Wands comes up, this is the energy of you being valued, feeling valued, celebrated, encouraged, and supported in succeeding in your path of growth creatively. It can be professionally, and how you're doing your sacred work. I love this. Take a moment for everything I'm talking about, for every sign. I encourage you all to really take a moment to feel into, how is this showing up for me? So for Capricorn, how is it showing up for you that you're feeling supported in your sacred work, whether you're doing that sacred work consciously or unconsciously? Your sacred work is how you share your light, your energy in the world in ways that fills your soul up, that gives you inner fulfillment in how you're sharing, however that is. It doesn't really have to be about our job. It's just how we want to be of service. So how's that showing up for you, Capricorn rising people? Okay, and then we've got Aquarius coming up next. For Aquarian rising, this is happening in your 5th house of pleasure, love affairs, romance, creative self-expression, children. Let me dig in here. Still a wand, the Knight of Wands. I think we're getting like every single wand card in the suit. Okay, this card came up reversed, but let me show it right side up. When this card comes up right side up, it's the energy of you charging forward onto a new path that is connected to your passions, your enthusiasms, whether that's your personal life or career. Oftentimes the wand is linked to career because we strive to have meaning in that area of our life. However, I want to emphasize that our life path is not our career. Okay, so when this card comes up reversed in the 5th house of pleasure, it's about practicing a little bit of forethought. I wouldn't say being cautious, but not being so impulsive that it's turning into recklessness. We do want to allow ourselves to be in our natural, spontaneous joy self. But being impulsive is more like the unconscious challenge aspect of spontaneity. Impulsive is coming more from recklessness. And so it feels like this is a message for you to just have some forethought around that. Am I just being in my natural, spontaneous joy self and allowing myself to enjoy pleasures in my life, enjoy creative self-expression for the sake of the joy of it? Or am I being irresponsible and reckless and impulsive in ways that could turn around and bite me, that could be counterproductive? And then we're coming into Pisces rising. So if you're Pisces rising, then this whole Gemini stellium, including the new moon and the Venus, Cazimi, is happening in your 4th house of your roots, your home, your origins, your ancestors, the most private sector of your life. We dig in here, digging in deep. My cards, last card. The 7 of Pentacles showing up reversed. So more than likely, this is literal considerations around investments that you want to be doing within your home environment or your private projects that you have going on. Now, this does not literally have to mean a financial investment, although Pentacles is associated with finances, abundance, prosperity, money. It's not only that. Pentacles is earth energy. So it is manifestation energy. It's energy that's connected to the world of form, but it also has to do with your physical health and well-being and your physical environment. So this is you considering how you want to invest in your physical environment. And that can be the internal of your physical health, your home, or like I said, personal projects that you've got going on. Considerations around how you're investing your energy. So it can be financial investment, but it can be how am I investing my time, my energy, my resources to improve my physical environment internally with your health or with your surroundings that you mostly dwell within. Okay. One last overall collective message for all of us. The Page of Pentacles, bright sunshine, radiant life force vitality that is supporting not only illumination of heart, mind, and soul, as we talked about earlier, but illumination around what makes us thrive internally and how we want to be engaging with life. What do we have to contribute to life in ways that are going to bring in an inner feeling of fulfillment and satisfaction? How am I contributing my life force energy to my life in ways that are a reflection of my own self-love as well? So, okay, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Glad to be here with all of you during this episode, and I'm going to be chiming in for the full moon. And before that, I don't know if you've noticed, but between the new moon, full moon episodes, I've been uploading content around mastering intuition, since that is actually my main specialty as a professional psychic, is mentoring and guiding others in developing their intuition, whether you're doing that for your personal life or if you are a person who feels guided to be on some type of path as a wellness practitioner, an energy healer, an intuitive coach, maybe even a professional psychic. I love teaching people how to develop their intuition. And so I've been posting content on that in between my astrological episodes. And so if you haven't checked out the playlists on my channel yet, I invite you to go ahead and do that. And all my love, blessings, namaste, and I will see you all in the next video.